welcome to No Movies in Hell. I'm Chris Geiger.
And LaClaw Scott. Today we are reviewing, I guess, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I chose what film we're reviewing.
How did you feel about this movie?
So it's interesting. I mean, I really didn't have, not to say I thought this was going to be a bad film or anything. I really didn't have any expectations going into this. Like I thought, oh, this would be pretty cool to see what's happening, considering I think the Crystal Skull was the last one, and that was more than almost 20 years ago. I think is definitely more than 15. And I thought that was pretty entertaining, but more entertaining than I think some of the films that came out in the 80s. So I was a little kid, and I didn't see the original like 3 in succession. 1, 2, they were years after they had come out that I had seen them. And it's really interesting because I felt like you don't really see these films that much on like television. And so it was like, unlike other like series of films, it had been a jumbled mess for me, like which one's first, which one's second. And then Crystal Skull comes out and it's like, oh, okay, so this one comes out. And yeah, I really had kind of just, going into this franchise knowing that, I think if you are a diehard fan, you're probably wanting a lot out of this. And yeah, I just thought that it would be interesting and fun and to see where it goes. How about you? What were your initial thoughts?
So I didn't see Crystal Skull, and I think the last one I saw was Jewel of the Nile, which I
Mm,
liked, but they were a long time ago, and action movies have come a long way since then. And so it was interesting. It was interesting that they wanted to do another Indiana Jones to start with.
yeah.
Love that Harrison Ford is in it. Love Phoebe Waller-Bridge, like she's awesome. But movies like Uncharted, which are kind of like that
Yes.
adventuring, swashbuckling sort of looking for lost things, it was just going to be interesting to see how they position themselves to bring the nostalgia part back, but also to keep up with the current adventure scene. So I thought they did a good job. I thought it was a little bit long. I
Mm,
definitely got antsy uh, about 2 hours in.
yeah.
So I don't know that it needed to be as long as it was, but I thought it was good for what it was. And it met expectations for sure.
Yeah. I would have to say the same. I was actually very impressed with the special effects. When they had to de-age him, I was like, actually, it's a pretty good job. And I thought for me that was the thing that I was like most interested in, aside, the story aside. I was like, oh, well, when they get ready to do all these flashbacks and like how like cartoony is it going to be? And I do have to say, like, it was a phenomenal job, but I felt like when the speech, so the mouth, I was like, oh, that's a little
Mm,
cartoony, could need a little bit of work, but we're advancing so much. I just thought that it was just very impressive.
definitely. And I think it's both a blessing and a curse because we all know what Harrison Ford looked like
Yes.
when he was younger because he was in so many movies of this genre. And so everyone watching this who was watching it for the nostalgia aspect would definitely have an opinion on whether the de-aging was done well or not.
Yeah.
So that's the curse. But the blessing is there's so much available for them to use as a resource to say, does this look like him when he was younger? So that they had that sort of vast resource to pull from. So yeah, I thought they did a good job. Let's go to the slides. So 25 and 23.5, pretty close. Costumes, you give it a 3, I give it a 2.5.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the costumes here?
So I thought the costume again, if we're comparing it to the average swashbuckling adventure story movie that comes out now, I thought the costumes were okay. Like they met expectations, maybe even a little bit better than average. So I gave it a 2.5.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that they were, of the time, going back to the 40s all the way to the 60s, all the way to, I mean, spoiler alert, the Roman time. Oh, I was gonna say, and yeah, I really enjoyed the special effects with this film. I really thought that they did an incredible job with the CGI, and even parts towards the end, right? Like, um, it's like it was hilarious towards the end, even though it was kind of exhausting. Um, but seeing, the Roman Empire in real time, quote, real time, and the reactions and like the special effects when they're getting hit, and like just having those, historical, I guess, imbalances in a particular scenes were actually really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I wonder if there'll be another Indiana Jones, because this one's not doing great at the box office right now.
Well, I guess relative to budget, it's probably going to do fine. I don't think that it's going to be the summer blockbuster. I think those are coming up. Relative to other films, I actually think it's doing okay. Yeah, now the expectation is set a little differently. Like, of course, it's not your Marvel film. These are getting people who are familiar with the franchise out, and I don't think a lot of younger folks either have been exposed to the franchise, or everybody is just waiting for either Barbie, Oppenheimer, or Mission Impossible. So yeah, I do think that this was kind of a play to get people familiar with the franchise out. Maybe it was, they'll wait a couple weeks before going too.
Yeah, I definitely think this will have a long tail in terms of like people watching it on streaming, and there'll be box sets released and things like that. So it'll definitely make its money. But the opening weekend, I think, wasn't as big as they had hoped it would be.
Yeah.
Especially because they did avoid the big weekends that are coming up of like Mission Impossible, Oppenheimer, Barbie. All right,
Yeah.
thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Thank you.